Digital self. Digital self is a claim that the digital web allows us to try out different personas that differ from our real life. It is not the same as your real-world identity because the characteristics you represent online differ from the characteristics you represent in the physical world. So, today's generation, everyone is open to use any digital technology. And as we use smartphones or any digital technology, we tend to discover more about ourselves, that we can be something outside our comfort zone. And this digital self talks about how we portray different characters in front of the cameras. Look how those actors and actresses act. They can imitate any and act it as if that's who they are. Another is those of vlogger or any media stars. They are two different characters when they are in front of cam and off cam. Social media. Social media is defined as the websites and applications that make it easier to create and share informations, ideas, and interests. It also allows people to create other forms of self-expressions via virtual communities and networks. So the social media that I am defining earlier is the social media that everyone knew and uses. It is not really new for us what is this social media platform are. Example of this are the Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, WhatsApp, Snapchat, YouTube, and many more. This platform helps you to widen your social network and connection. This virtual space create a dimension where you can connect to others and share what you wanted to share to the world. Next is online disembodiment. What is this online disembodiment? To simply explain, through the use of social media, people may act differently since interaction in social media do not happen face to face and there is no physical presence required. With this, people are less likely to display their real selves to others, especially to strangers. So, this is ultimately relates to a sense of detachment from the identity defined by the physical body. This embodiment occurs when we experience upsetting feelings, so this online embodiment can affect our psychological. Once we are lack of social support, we are most likely to experience depression, anxiety, and increased loneliness.
Digital identity is a compilation of information about you that exists online. Your digital identity includes anything online that is associated with your name, such as social media posts, interactions, articles, publications, institutional affiliation, and more. A new persona is created when we are using social media. It is our extended self. The things that affect our digital identity are everything we share on social media, such as photo, statuses, videos, and other things that we edit out to please and show ourselves how we want to. But why understanding digital identity important? Who we are online gives others insight into who we are in real life. This leads us to make assumptions about people even if we have never met them in person. Our digital identity might not reflect on who we are in real life. How do we create a digital identity? Step 1. Google yourself. The first step to creating your digital identity is to realize that if you engage online, you likely already have one. Take inventory of how you appear online by Googling yourself or looking at past social media posts and interactions. Ask yourself, does this digital image represent who I am right now? Are these profiles active? And do I want to change them? Why do I want to use this social media account? And what are my goals for my digital identity? Step 2. Set goals. The next step to creating your digital identity is to understand your goals. Do you want your digital identity to represent your professional aspirations or your personal and social aims? Someone marketing themselves as an academic or business professional may have a different goals and a different digital identity than a comedian, an artist, or a teacher. Do all your social media accounts align with the same goal and persona? What are the future employers seeing when they Google your name? Think about whether your online presence is hindering in any personal or professional aims. Decide on a goal and stay consistent across your platforms. Step 3. Be authentic. Your digital identity should ultimately reflect on who you are offline, whether this is your personal or professional life. Being authentic will help you maintain a consistent image across platforms. Are digital identities always authentic? While authenticity is important, what we see online does not always reflect how a person is in the real world. Keep in mind that a digital identity is a curated image of a person that does not always reflect their whole self. The online world can even contain false identities that differ drastically from who the people behind them really are. Our digital identity can affect the interactions, opportunities, and reputation we have in the real world. When creating your digital identity, it is important to take inventory of your online past, define your goals, and present yourself authentically across all platforms.
Online disinhibition effect.
When people adopt fake identities, they are likely to engage in between behaviors that they will not do in real life interactions, known as a online disinhibition. As you move around the internet, most of the people you encounter can't easily tell who you are. System operators and some technologically savvy motivates user may not be able to detect your email or internet address, but for the most part, people only know that you tell them about yourself. If you wish, you can keep your identity hidden, as the word anonymous indicates. You can have no name, at least not your real name. That anonymity works wonders for disinhibition effect. When people have the opportunity to separate their actions from their real world and identity, they feel less vulnerable about opening up. Whatever they say or do can't easily be directly linked to the rest of their lives. They don't have to own their behavior by acknowledging it within the full concept of who they really are. When acting out hostile feelings, the person doesn't have to take responsibility for those actions. In fact, people might even convince themselves that those behaviors aren't me at all. In psychology, this is called dissociation. In many online environments, other people cannot see you. As you browse through websites, message boards, and even some chat rooms, people may not even know who you are at all. With the possible exemption of webmasters and other users who have access to software tools that can detect traffic through the site, assuming they have the inclination to keep an eye on you. One of maybe hundreds or thousands of users. Invisibility gives the courage to go places and do things that they otherwise wouldn't. These people have the power to conceal overlaps with anonymity because Anonymity is the concealment of identity, but there are some important differences. In text communication such as email, chat, blogs, and instant messages, others may know a great deal about who you are. However, they still can't see or hear you, and you can see or hear them too. Even with everyone's identity visible, the opportunity to be physically invisible amplifies the disinhibition effect. You know, you don't have to worry about how you look or sound when you say or type something. You don't have to worry about others' look or sound when they say something. Seeing a frowned face, a shaking head, a sigh, a bored expression, and many other subtle and not subtle signs of disapproval or indifferences can slam the brakes on what people are willing to express. In psychoanalysis, the analysis sits behind the patient in order to remain a physical ambitious figure without revealing any body language or facial expression, so that the patient has free range to discuss whatever he or she wants. Without feeling inhabited by how the analysis is physically reacting. In everyday relationship, people sometimes avert their eyes when discussing something personal and emotional. It's easier not to look into the other's face. Text communications offers a built-in opportunity to keep one's eyes averted.
Benign disinhibition. It occurs when people tend to self-disclose more on the internet than they would in real life, or go out their way to help someone or show some kindness. For example, speaking about emotion, fear, and wishes. And perhaps this person cannot talk to his parents about his emotion. That's why he show his emotion online, hoping that someone out there were responsible enough to hear his messages and talk to him. Sometimes we also share our fear, hoping that people will not take advantage. And also sometimes we talk about wishes like our dreams or dreams places, and people will show their support, especially if your friend is responsible, not toxic friend online. Social media also allowed some kindness and helping others. For example, awareness for mental health and mental illness. We can do this like online infographics or share materials from legit source, not free. Another example is combating loneliness through online interaction. We always think that Facebook and social media are negative, but it's not. Because for other people, this is the only way to combat loneliness. For example, person abroad or person is alone in his her place, and social media is the thing how he or she relate to other people. This is the only way how to connect to each other and finding emotion support. And this is the healthy type of disinhibition, because normally we cannot speak about things offline, especially if people around that's not listen or they don't care. Thank you.
Compared to benign disinhibition, there is also its unhealthy counterpart, which is the toxic disinhibition. From its word toxic, we all know it's gonna be destroying on someone's mental health. Toxic disinhibition composes of rude language, harsh criticism, anger, hatred, and threats. If you are in the right mind, you should know that we are not supposed to spread these kinds of things on social media or in the internet. We should also not speak rudely to others, even in real life. Nowadays, there's this called hate crimes or hate speech. As social media is getting popular each day, we can now easily find someone's hate comment on someone's post or someone's picture on any social media platform that we now have. Toxic disinhibitions also include pornography and violence. Some people are evil enough to post about their violence online. According to psychologists, exposure to social media violence can desensitize people also to do violence in the real world. Desensitization more specifically describes process by which initial arousal responses to violent stimuli are reduced, thereby changing an individual's present internal state, according to Carnegie, Anderson, and Bushman. In toxic disinhibition, we are also trying to avoid cyberbullying. We are dealing with cyberbullying for years. It is not new to us. Compared to bullying in real life, this can get out of hand faster because anything can be shared and seen in just a second, in just one click. We can see anything. Cyberbullying can also result in long-lasting emotional effects, even if the bullying has stopped. Threatening, humiliating, spreading rumors, and making fun of others are something we are trying to avoid. Especially, some people are believing in fake news in social media. We are also trying to avoid toxic inhibitions, cyber harassment or exploitation that happens among children as children are too young and vulnerable to understand what you are doing to them. I learned from one of my teachers back then that never share too much information on the internet because it will stay there longer than you think.
A very pleasant morning to all of you. Again, we are Group 6 and now we are reporting topic number 3, entitled Managing Responsible Online Behavior. Let me present to you the reporters for topic 3. This is my team. I am your first reporter, Joshua Robles, and this is my co-reporters, Krichelle Indoc and Miss Krichelle Torino. Now, we will now proceed to our report topic. These are the tips on how you can manage being responsible in your online behavior. Number 1. Do not post or send anything that will embarrass you. Because the large audience is hidden and many people feel safe behind their screens, people may act differently online than in person. This can be beneficial because it allows someone to open up to be themselves. Some people, on the other hand, use social media to humiliate and bully others. In most cases, online posting is immediate, public, and permanent. Once you publish a post, you lose control over what happens to it. All it takes is just one friend to share it on their own profile for it to be completely out of your control. And we forget how public social media is. And we end up sharing things we shouldn't have. Di ba? Familiar naman tayo sa social media dahil araw-araw natin ito nagagamit sa ating pang-araw-araw ding buhay. At pinapakita natin sa social media ang lahat ng mga gusto nating saloobin na ibabahagi natin sa ating mga kaibigan sa ating social media. At Alam na din natin na nagkakaroon ng mga cyberbullying sa social media. Kailangan na rin natin na pag-ingatan ang ating mga ibinabahagi sa ibang mga tao. Dahil sa panahon ngayon, napakalaganap ng kritisismo sa mga tao. Na sa isang pagbabahagi mo lang ng isang post ay maaari kang mapahamak o kaya naman ay mapahiya sa harap ng maraming tao. Tulad na lamang ng nangyari ng nakaraang eleksyon. During last month's election, many people post and share information about their political candidates during election campaigns. And some of the information they share is fake, which can embarrass the person who shares it, right? Ikaw ba naman magbahagi ng maling impormasyon sa mga tao? At syempre, kapag mali ang binabahagi mo, sino mapapahiya doon? Syempre, yung nagbahagi o ikaw. So, sharing false information can embarrass you because it reflects your ability to tell what is real and what is not. And another example, ang mga teenagers nowadays wants to go viral online, right? They share extreme and shameful videos on TikTok and Facebook that can be used to degrade their dignity. Kalimitan na ginagamit ng TikTok para magbahagi ng mga minsan nasasabi nating malaswang videos, minsan nakakahiya ito at nakakabawas ng dignidad ng tao natin. Pero maaari natin magamit ito para sa mga kasiyahan. So also, with our camera phones and a desire for attention, there is what we call public shaming, in which every time someone does something embarrassing or unethical, it is recorded and posted without hesitation. So yung mga nag-video na lamang bigla at ipopost sa social media, sasabihin na mali ang ginagawa ng taong ito. Pero ang katotohanan ay tama pala ang ginagawa niya. At tayo, bilang paniniwala natin mali ito, napapahiya na naman tayo. Tulad ng mga nangyayari sa tungkol, minsan di ba ang mga nagrereklamo, sila pa yung totoong mali at hindi yung nirereklamo nila. So, when you post someone online what an issue and people believe you are the one who's wrong, it can embarrass you rather than the person you posted. And we may have the freedom to do whatever we want on the internet. But we must exercise caution, because if we're not careful, and we may endanger our lives and the other lives. Here is how we can avoid to be embarrassed on the internet. Number 1, do not post immediately. Think before you post and double check your spelling and grammar. Because it is sometimes a big deal for these people nowadays that people with poor spelling and grammatization are considered stupid. Avoid joining online fights. And lastly, even if it's your girlfriend or your friend or your boyfriend, do not send private photos of yourself, because this may be used to blackmail you or to shame you in public. Okay, now we proceed to our number 2 tip. For our number 2 tip, avoid posting statements when experiencing the strong emotions. So in most cases, we use strong emotion to share to other people what we want to talk about. See, for example, we are so mad that we share things just to share our emotion, to have someone to sympathize us. Strong emotions can affect our control in how we post online. Humans are emotional creatures by nature. They like to feel and like to share feelings with their friends and family on social media. Kasi kung hindi naman natin kaya na ang ating nararamdaman, maaring ginagamit na natin ang social media. For example, those people who tweet things like, talaga kung mabigat ang nararamdaman, tinitweet na lang nila. Or for example, nagpo-post nila, talagang mga galit yung mga tao nagre-reklamo, let's say for that. Kasi nga, ganun ka-strong ang emotion ng tao. And we must not say inappropriate things kung tayo ay galit. Ilagay natin sa lugar dahil ang social media is a public place. Maaari makita tayo ng mga bata. They might see us, which is inappropriate. Emotion can trigger us to fight, and it can lose our control of our body. But it is natural to be mad, but we have to control. Because negative thoughts can result to negative results, right? People might judge you, or you will feel ashamed online or offline. But here are some tips on how you can manage your emotion online. Whether it's political issue or human interest story, be aware of your triggers. Know when you're being emotionally manipulated, and be preferred to walk away if necessary. Pause before engaging and question everything. Before you have a positive or negative emotional reaction, think about the source. Consider why you're reacting the way you are to what you're seeing. And finally, choose your battles wisely. At ay nagagawa natin kung tayo ay mag-iisip. We must use our mind before we act, before we speak.
Don't hang out with the wrong crowd, online or offline. But first, what does wrong crowd means? It simply means a group of people thought to have negative influence on a person's behavior, which means it can affect a person's behavior, person's way of living. But let us focus on the topic. Don't hang out with the wrong crowd online. Why should we not hang out with them, the wrong crowd? It is because on the research that I've made, it says having a lot of followers, and your followers, some are your friends, relatives, but some of it that you might not know, and it will just increase your risk of victimization. Why does it will increase your risk of victimization? Because you are giving the access to the strangers, the access to your personal information that opens you up to all sorts of potential problems. And on the topic, don't hang out with the wrong crowd offline. Why does we should not hang out with the wrong crowd offline or socially? Because in a human nature, based on my research, in human nature, we reflect on the behavior of the persons who we spending most of our time, which simply means if we are joining or we're joining on the wrong crowd or the bad crowd or the bad people, we can reflect to their behavior. We can be bad, might be bad, or we can do the bad doings they are doing. And also, if we are joining or a company, or we will be accompanied with the good people, we can be good and we do good things to other people because we reflect on the behavior of the crowd we are in. And on the statement of the Bible, it says, do not be misled. Bad company corrupts good character. Why does it corrupts good character? Because if we are joining bad company, we can be like the doings that they made, we can do it, or we reflected it, so that we will be bad, and it will corrupt the good doings or the goodness in us. And also there's a saying, old saying, that says a man is known by the company he keeps. That is very self-explanatory, but just in reality, if our behavior now, if we are recognized by the company we are with. Example, you are a Christian. We are recognized as a Christian because the people surround us is Christians, and we can be easily recognized as a bad people if we are joining the addicts, the criminals. We can easily be recognized because some people recognize that people as a bad people, and if you join with them, you will be recognized too as a bad people. And therefore, we have to choose, or we should be careful in choosing a company. We should choose the good ones to make us good, and avoid having negative impact in our lives, because in our choices there will always be a consequences. That's all.
Number 5. Be careful with oversharing, especially confidential information that may be used irresponsibly. We should think before oversharing information to others, because oversharing of our own personal information, especially in the social media, it can catch the attention of others that make you pull down. Number 6. Respect other people in the online community. We should be respectful so that others can respect us too. We should watch our tone when we are speaking or talking in the online community, because when someone is talking or explaining, we should give them a respect through listening and understanding to what they want to say. That's all. Thank you.